All right. Well, let's get started here then, folks. First of all, I want to welcome you to our Sumo Logic Cloud SIEM live webinar. I'm Dana Torgersen. As a bit of quick housekeeping, this live webinar is being recorded, and I'm going to take some time at the end for any questions that you may have. And while I'm speaking, feel free to click the Q&A button in your webinar window and jot down your question. We'll try to get to as many as we can. Now, we've allotted 30 minutes, and I want to ensure I can get you folks on to your next meeting on time. And so with that, I'll also put this in the chat window there for you folks. Let's dig right into it, shall we? So let's begin with an overview of who we are. Sumo Logic, we've built this continuous intelligence platform for both observability and security, and it's currently analyzing 1.7 exabytes of data every single day. And it's being done and used by more than 175,000 folks, active users across the globe. And now, Sumo Logic ourselves, we're now just north of 900 employees with offices in multiple countries. And just a quick little list here of just some of the customers that are using and trusting our solution. And when I speak of solution, by using our continuous intelligence platform, Sumo Logic offers this broad range of security solutions, ranging on the left here, shown our audit and compliance, all the way to the right, which is our cloud source solution. But now today I'm zeroing in and focusing on our Cloud SIEM solution, and that includes our Cloud SIEM Enterprise add-on module. Now check out our Sumo Logic website webinar page if you want to register for one of our other live demos that cover these other solutions here. Now, really, there's these, clearly we've got a lot of different folks here on the line. And so I do not have the visibility or the insight as to which one of you are in SecOps or DevSecOps, or, who is maybe, I'm not looking at titles. I don't know who are my executive staff in a SOC, or who are the actual, feet on the ground, the SOC analysts and security analysts and SIEM engineers. So just to make sure that we're all on the same page too, plus a lot of other visitors, just wanted to go over some of the common challenges that security analysts face day in and day out. These are really SIEM challenges. First of all, you think about digital transformation and the recent growth in organizations migrating to the cloud. It's created so many new challenges with security blind spots and legacy security tools and SIEMs. They weren't necessarily built for the cloud. And this has resulted in more threat visibility gaps really than ever before. And speaking of existing tools, many SOC teams are tired of the slow, inefficient, and manual workflows they've been having to endure. And with the, I guess you would call it the recent shifts in the threat landscape and the new attack surfaces that have now migrated with cloud adoption, really security analysts need help to speed up investigation response times, especially in these new areas. Another top challenge shown here on the right is that security teams are spending way too much time and resources on chasing low priority security alerts and false positives. All of the increasing alerts and noise has continued to burn out team members with alert fatigue. And this has made it clear to CISOs and SOC directors that this is no longer a human scale problem because they simply can't hire their way out of this situation. Now, our Sumo Logic Cloud SIEM solution that you're here to learn about today offers easy to use cloud native collection and threat detection for security professionals. So we help your SOC team eliminate security blind spots by correlating threats across all of your on-prem, public cloud, and hybrid environments. We're also able to help you speed up your threat investigations and combat lost time that you've spent due to manual workflows with your legacy SecOps tools. And finally, we help our customers cut through the noise by automatically triaging and prioritizing the security threats that matter most to your SOC and to your organization. Now, for this cutting through the noise benefit, let me drill further down into the alert fatigue challenge, and let's put some numbers to it while I explain what makes our Cloud SIEM truly unique. Right here, this is a real-world example of a global manufacturer who sent more than 10 billion log and event data to Sumo Logic for a 45-day proof of value eval process, which our Cloud SIEM automatically ingested, and we normalized it with our stream ingest into records from all that structured and unstructured data. And in total, we fired 9.8 million signals. And that's something that other vendors might refer to as a notable event. Now, Most traditional SIEMs use correlation rules to get to this point, while other solutions try to increase alert fidelity even further. But that requires substantial rule stacking and tuning, machine learning, risk scoring. But in general, they stop right here because they do not capture unknown threat patterns. Ultimately, security teams need to filter the remaining alerts and throw a bunch of level 1 security analysts at the problem for alert triage. But even that can still result in errors and other issues, as well as just taking too much precious time. So Sumo Logic's Cloud SIEM solution uniquely provides real automation of security analyst workflows. Our Insight Engine is an adaptive signal clustering algorithm, and we implemented it as a heuristic-based artificial reasoning system. Now, what all that means is every time a rule fires, it creates a signal with a unique signature, a reference to an entity, and a severity score. Now, the Insight Engine also provides a powerful view back in time, evaluating all signals associated with an entity, not for the last 24 hours or 48 hours, but going back to the last 30 days. So when our algorithm determines that this aggregated risk surpasses a certain threshold, it generates an insight. And an insight is a structured set of information that's optimized to help accelerate alert triage. These insights really represent a sophisticated layer of analysis because our Insight Engine allows Cloud SIEM to detect advanced threats and low and slow attacks, as well as higher speed direct threats. And on top of this, as I mentioned before, we offer this exabyte cloud scale and dramatically improved signal to noise ratio. In fact, this particular organization here, they witnessed a signal to insight ratio of 56,000 to 1, leading to ultimately 175 insights, of which they validated 65 incidents over the course of their 45-day POV. Now, this customer also was struggling with a 98% false positive rate, despite the multiple tools and services they were using, and the endpoint vendor and their MSSP vendor that they were trusting. But with our Cloud SIEM, we enabled them to centralize their data and consolidate these tools while dramatically reducing their false positive rate down to 9%. So needless to say, this global manufacturer is now a Sumo Logic customer. So as you can see, Sumo Logic, we automatically detect, we're correlating these real-time threats and incidents across your on-prem, your cloud, and your hybrid data sources. But I think it would be a lot better if I show you. That's probably why you're here. So let me flip over right now to my other browser tab that I've got with the product running. Right up to the top here, bring it down, pop over. I'll maximize it again so folks can see it edge to edge on the screen. Well, this is it. This is our heads-up display for our Cloud SIEM Enterprise user interface. This is really focused on and purposely built for security analysts. This does not take away the ability to use our Sumo Logic query or search interface. That's still at your fingertips. You could have that open in another tab if you wanted to, actually. And both user interfaces cross-link to each other too. So it's very seamless between the two, the way that we've integrated it. But this one is just focusing your eyes, getting you on mission, on task. And before I showed you that inverted pyramid, that classic funnel of fidelity slide, well, here's the funnel of fidelity in the upper left-hand corner. First of all, I've got a time span of 24 hours. I can change that if I want. And as I change that, it dynamically updates all the information on the screen. And also, by the way, while I'm talking, you might see the screen refresh because it automatically is pushing refreshes. I'm not clicking anything or hitting the refresh button. So we're taking in a bunch of structured and unstructured data into the Sumo Logic platform, and we've routed it into our Cloud SIEM engine here, basically. And of all that data, we've actually automatically parsed, we've ingested it, we've parsed it, we've normalized it into 16 million records. And according to this information here, this gram, it's just about a 1% increase over the previous period. So 2 days prior to that was maybe just a little bit less than 16 million records. Then using our out-of-the-box rules content, we got more than 600 SIEM rules ready to go to get people up and running quickly. And you can customize those rules and use rule expression tuning. We push updates every Tuesday and Thursday. Basically, you're able to craft and tailor the rules any way you want without fear of us breaking your rules later when we push updates. So with that out-of-the-box rules content, we're actually looking at all those records, and we fired 1 million signals in the last 2-day period. And that looks like it's down just about 1%. Now, this is what I was telling you before. This is probably where you're left with traditional, even some next gen SIEM solutions that are on the market, would just leave you with these enriched alerts or these notable events, about 1 million to sift through. 1 million in just the last 2-day period. Of course, your mileage may vary, different organizations, different maturity levels of security, and the amount of data that you're ingesting. But that's a lot of difficulty to get through that. And I think that's what's building and adding to this alert fatigue that a lot of folks are feeling. So where Sumo Logic Cloud SIEM, and specifically our Cloud SIEM Enterprise add-on module here, takes it a bit further. And we're looking at all those different signals and the entities that they're all attributed to, attached to. That becomes the thread that ties them all together. That's how we came up with our opinionated view of critical incidents that you need to look at immediately. And that's our insights. So from 1 million signals in the last 2 days, we've surfaced 18 of these insights, 18 things. And apparently in the last 2-day period, that's up about 12%. So I'm getting a lot of information on this page view quickly. I'm also seeing the metrics of what's the dwell time, the response time, the remediation time of these insights. Here's a quick status of the insights, left to right, going from 10 new insights, 4 of them are in progress. 1 of them is in what we would call the custom field. So the product is, again, very tailorable and flexible to allow you to customize it to meet your existing standard operating procedures, your standard SecOps workflows. And there's also closed. And the color matters: red, orange, white, green. Your eyes are probably drawn to the center mass of the screen here. This is our Insight Radar screen. A lot of customers tend to put this up on their SOC walls, and they like to get this big overview glance. And of course, SOC directors, CISOs love to see it, and almost a gamification, like if you want to flip the reds to greens. So as you see the data flowing, those are the records in the blue line, radially going clockwise. And this clockwise direction of timestamp is based on 2 days. If I change that, of course, this whole graph changes as well. And you can see the ebb and flow as you bring on new data and it's ingesting more records, and also signals radially emanating outwards around the clockwise direction. And as I hover, you can see all the different signals, 16,069 in this particular time period on April 20th. In the center are the insights, the triangles, red indicating new insights that nobody has gotten to yet. And so me as a team member or my other colleagues, we want to jump on those, of course. Yellowish orange color indicating somebody is actually working on it. It's in progress. White indicating something that's in a custom or other insight categorization. And green indicating that they've been closed. So generally, this is where folks start out, but on, let's say, a day in the life for a SOC analyst, you're probably going to jump right into the insights page. Now, earlier I showed you that you've got 1 million signals. You can still jump into the signals page, look at all of these to your heart's content, and you can prosecute each one of these individually and search. We've got the entities here for you to look at, all the different ways of looking at an entity. And an entity in our world is any unique IP address, MAC address, host name, username, and also this concept of creating a custom entity. You could identify maybe the CEO's laptop as an entity for his or her machine. And so anything bad that's happening or any activity that look malicious that we're seeing coming through from all the detections could be focused on and isolated, looking at that particular entity. We also have all of the native records are kept inside of the Cloud SIEM Enterprise, and you can search for that. And it's very simple and very easy to drill down into any piece of information. But generally, you're going to start here in the insights. We've already done the work, so you don't have to search. I know it's counterintuitive to Sumo Logic. We are known for 12 years for our cloud native, built-in AWS search capabilities, improving on what machine data analytics were previously on the market. And so here is this power, and we're not even having to dig into that, because the point here is our Cloud SIEM is automatically putting these on a silver platter for you to just jump right into. And here's one view. It's our table view. It just goes down, top down, and you can resort the order that it comes in. And you can see the creation date of each insight. The insight name is given a unique naming sequence with a number, followed by automatically generated text, which is pulling from the MITRE ATT&CK framework tactics or techniques that are exhibited by the signals that make up that insight. I can also see a severity, The entity involved, again, I mentioned an entity could be a username, host name, IP address. This one apparently is for deb.smith. I can see that there are 4 unique signals attributed to this one single insight. And every one of these insights gets to have a little heat map on the right indicating the severity, 0 to 5 to 10 on the vertical axis, and on the horizontal axis, the time and date going from left to right. And we map the different signals as I hover over them right here, showing their position both for severity and time. And as I mentioned, the Insight Engine is looking at all these different signals and their severity score and adding up to an aggregated score. I believe it's like a 12 or a 14, if I'm not mistaken. And that's adjustable working with your technical account manager. And that is what's getting you to the point of understanding why we're surfacing these insights. Some users prefer our board view. And I, as a user right now, as a security analyst, am flipping my views and all my settings. These are my views. Of course, I'm not impacting my colleagues and how they might prefer to look at information or some of their saved settings. And everything behind the scenes here, every user's got RBAC settings, just like the rest of our Sumo platform, all tied together with delegated administration and access to what he or she might need. But this board view is great. This harkens to the the Kanban style with post-its moving across the board. If I take it from the new column, maybe drag it over because I'm on the email team and I'm supposed to investigate maybe issues that are having to do with like phishing attacks and such. Here's all my in progress. And when I was showing that other category showing up as white insight triangles, that just groups and collects all of the different board views or stages of your workflows that you've customized. Email team is custom, tier 3. This could go on to incident handlers, responders, remediation team, but ultimately you get to the closed column. For brevity, I've got this filter on to just not have to load up all the closed, but if I clear that filter, it'll quickly show you all the closed, 4,427 closed insights. And I can scroll through these and I can get my historical record. Also, remember, when things are closed, they turn green. So we carried through the color scheme throughout the entire UI as well. So green is, it's been closed, red is new, orange is in progress. So I don't need to, as a day in the life, which is the purpose of me talking to you today, I don't need to focus on what's closed, the past. Let's look at the future, and that's new. So I can be looking through this new column. You might be wondering, well, where do I start? There's, first of all these insights are much more important than you just, taking your gut instinct and just trying to drive through all the alerts and signals. There's a reason behind why we've surfed these insights. Of course, this might be a handful for you per day. Larger companies, more complex entities with more data coming in, maybe it's 20 or 30 of these coming through a day, but still much more manageable than dealing with thousands or tens of thousands or, heaven forbid, millions. So as I'm looking through these insights, I could be sorting through them and looking at maybe the global confidence score. When your colleagues and peers using Cloud SIEM Enterprise around the globe are going through and looking at signals and evaluating them and investigating the insights, ultimately you're going to close them out. That's what makes them put into the green column here. So to get in the green column, you close an insight and there's a question asked as to, well, why are you closing this? We're able to anonymously take that information. Really, it's the power of the crowd. And we're looking at that anonymized data with machine learning algorithm. And that model is specifically trying to create a predictive score from 0 to 100 as to the actionability or the global confidence that this is a true positive for an insight based on the signals and how these were investigated by your peers. So if you see an insight with a score of, what did I see here? A 5, a 10, a 20, I might choose to pass over those first while I come take a look at this 95, which apparently has been going on for 10 minutes. So it's very fresh. 4 signals make it up. The insight is 19025, showing persistence with initial access, affecting apparently this entity, 192.168.38.102, an IP address. So if I click onto it, now I'm, again, wearing my security analyst hat. I'm working backwards now. Sumo Logic, we've done all the work to collect the records and turn those into signals and fire insights. Now that I'm looking at it insight, I can get the sense of all that work that went into this. So now investigatively, forensically, I'm looking back, seeing the timeline here of how and where these signals map out. And if they're severity of 3, Severity of 4, that's a score of 7. And then another severity item here, severity of 3. Slowly, my score attributed to this entity, all these activities and actions that we're seeing coming through, these alerts coming through, are building up my score. And that is ultimately what triggered this insight to fire. And the shape and the color matters as well. We understand that different folks, different ways of perceiving colors might be a difficulty for some. So that's why we also included shape. So if you've got a blue diamond, that indicates a match that was done for a rule to generate that particular signal. This little teal colored swooping, it almost looks like a GPS target. That's an anomaly based rule. Threat intelligence rules would show up as a purple pentagon. And the file analysis rules, anything that you're using with YAR rules that you get from GitHub that you can use with file carving and actually investigate and do malware analysis. If that had a trigger and a match, that would show up as this yellow square on this grid. And as I hovered on these, I can click on them, but I'm also seeing them right here in order based on the event time in ascending order. So this thing started out here with the proof point actually picking up that a user received an email with a phishing link. Okay, that's very interesting. That's good to know. And with that, I can see the tactics and techniques that are attributed to that particular signal. And I can see all the information here. If I click on this signal, I'm drilling down now into the much further details of the signal, all the tags that are automatically populated that are relevant to this particular signal, and the attached record. And I'm able to look at this record both as an overview with all the different fields mapped out. Some folks like to and prefer to look at it through our full details view. That's great. We've given that power to just click back and forth between the two. You can grab the raw log, you can export it and download it as a CSV or a JSON file if you'd like. Because again, your tradecraft and your tools that you're accustomed to using might differ than anybody else. I can also see what rule forced this signal to fire, this proof point tap rule, part of our out-of-the-box content. I'm seeing a graph here of who created it or modified it. I'm also seeing the status. It is turned on. It's active. It's a match type rule. The severity for the scoring, it's actually dynamically attributed. So that's our Sumo Logic threat engineering content team is actually determining that. Now, because this is a demo environment that I'm working on here, folks, it's repeating a lot of the data. So we're seeing these signals are firing over and over. But in your environment, you get to enjoy a 3.5 or so month view with the days of the week. And you'll see that the color change from a light blue to a bright teal, the more that signals are firing and when they fired. So visually, you can start to see this pattern matching too, these behaviors popping out at you. And the rule editing is quite straightforward too, with effectively a wizard built in that if it's triggered and matches this expression, then go create this particular signal with the different attributes, description. The severity is set to be dynamic versus static, and then any tagging that should come with that. Then you're also seeing the historical view of when these when the rule has fired, and then all the different insights that this rule firing a signal has attributed or contributed to an insight is what I should say. So if I go back one page and I'm still looking at this particular signal, this was a proof point signal, I can go further back and see also what happened in this attack. Well, it looks like the next step was that a checkpoint, a threat emulation was running, and it detected that a malicious file went through. Looks like there was a file, it was a zip file here, Trojan-based type of malware with the source and the destination IP of where it was coming from, the associated city and country, all tying this information that you would normally manually go gather. We're putting it all in one place for you. Then it looks like there was a threat intelligence match. We have CrowdStrike threat intelligence feed that we include in our product. And so you have access to that data as well. And it's utilized in the prosecution of these events to surface insights. And it looks like the death blow, look, these timestamps are pretty close here. So I'm not sure which one. I mean, it might have been milliseconds apart, but my guess is the last piece, the straw that broke the camel's back in this particular incident, was the detection summary event from CrowdStrike feed. Falcon product. So this was an alert that was coming through indicating the file hash that you can then click on and go deeper into your other tools to look at of why that was happening. So clearly this is a phishing attack. There was a persistence established, and then this initial access came through the phish. This is probably not a good thing. So I'm investigating it. I could have had actions automatically generated when the insight was generated, or I still have the privilege to take on-demand actions through this pull down on the left-hand side here. I could be sending it off to recorded future. Maybe I've already invested in Demisto, or I'm using the Sumo Logic Cloud SOAR that we just acquired last year. Maybe I want to email this insight to some members of my team, or I've got an integration with Slack to work through a different channel, or working with PagerDuty, bidirectional integration with ServiceNow to open and close tickets at the click of a button. You can see that I've got the assignee. I can assign it to myself with one click, assign it to any of my other team members on the SOC, changing the status, whether it's new or in progress, or to the different teams that somebody might be on. Global confidence score we talked about earlier is a 95. That's why this is very high, uh, very high confidence that it would be an actionable and true threat that you need to address. And any other tags that I want to enter, maybe to say, oh yeah, this is the such and such system, or this user, maybe it's an insider attack. Whatever categorization you want to attribute to this insight, get that data in here, capture it. It's easily searchable by you and any other team member following your footsteps later, as well as any additional commenting. But ultimately, you're going to close the insight when you're done, or send it off to another team, or they've remediated the threat, or squashed the and flattened the system. You could choose your resolution of duplicate, false positive, maybe no action was needed, or it's actually resolved. And we've recently added the ability to go further than just these 4 top level categories for resolution codes. You can create your own sub codes too, to be much more granular of, oh, we sent it to such and such team, so it's resolved and it was remediated, or resolved and we've got category root access, and whatever testing you want to do. This is that information that I mentioned is informing with our machine learning model as to predicting the score for the next people that might see this somewhere else around the globe. So it's really helping those who all, we are all one security community here. And when something bad has happened to this company, at least the activities that they've seen and witnessed can be shared and help others maybe quickly move on in their investigation. I've probably spent more time explaining this than a real security analyst in the seat on Monday morning at 7 a.m. would be able to get through and prosecute and do the investigation workflow for these particular threats. And when you're done with this, you get right back into the fight. You're on to the next insight, either trolling through your board view, your table view, or you could always reset back to the heads up display and then click into the different triangles here. So that is our Cloud SIEM and our Cloud SIEM Enterprise interface in a quick overview for you folks. So I'll flip back over here because I wanted to also share this idea of, this whole time that I'm talking about Cloud SIEM, and it is built on our cloud native platform in AWS, but we've got deployments across all of these regions, and this global presence is what's allowing us to deliver low latency to where your data is stored in Sumo, along with helping you adhere to your local data residency and regulatory requirements as well. So at this time, let me check our Q&A panel. I can answer any questions that you might have asked along the way. While I do that, you can feel free to snap this QR code with your phone. You can easily bring up our Cloud SIEM webpage where you can read more about our solution or find out about other details or next steps that you'd like to take. Let's see here. We've got a couple of questions here. We've got a question on different types of data that you can ingest. That's something I didn't really cover. So can you ingest Google Workspace and Bitdefender logs? Would it be through an API or how? Great question. So we have multiple different ways of bringing in really any data into the system. And so we have the easiest would be our hosted collectors. And those are collectors that we have hosted on behalf using our cloud-to-cloud framework, cloud-to-cloud integration framework, which does use APIs. Everything I showed you in the product has an API behind it as well. And so you're able to fully integrate different pieces and sections of this. We've got one very large customer who no offense to us, they don't even use this UI. They're just using everything behind the scenes and API'd it into their existing Pro tools that they had customized and built out a couple of years earlier. And so that was their workflow they were used to. But they definitely wanted to get access to all the behind the scenes, the insight engine, all the aggregation, the correlation, and pull that over. So the APIs helped them there. But for the ingestion of data, we've got hosted collectors, we've got installed collectors. Um, we've got more than 200 apps within our app catalog for Sumo Logic. And the app basically gives you quick click, click, click to be able to bring in data from your checkpoint firewalls, your Palo Alto Networks firewalls, from Okta, from Proofpoint, CrowdStrike. And with that, not just the easy connection for the ingestion, but also pre-built dashboards in Sumo Logic that allow you to just start to quickly visualize and monitor that data, as well as pre-built queries to do searches of that data, which is customized and specific to that type of data and that source and those fields that you're getting with that data. So yeah, the answer to your question is we can bring in any data, because at the end of the day, there's always syslog as well. Not that glamorous, but it is still a solution to get things in. But we've got much easier and more efficient ways of bringing that data in addition to API integrations and all these app integrations that we've got. I'm looking at the time here. I realize that we have now gone a couple of minutes over, and I don't see any other questions in the Q&A window. So let me go ahead and close this out. I want to thank you for your time today, folks. If you do have any other further questions, feel free to reach out to me. Again, I'm Dana Torgersen, Director of Product Marketing for our Security Business Unit here at Sumo Logic. But you can also reach out to our Sumo Logic sales representatives or any of our authorized Sumo Logic resellers. Again, thank you for your time. Have a great day, folks.